It began not with a bang, but with the slow, agonizing drip of a leaking faucet in the dead of night, a sound you ignore until you can't anymore. For years, Liam had been the architect, the healer, the human anchor in Maya's chaotic world. He gave pieces of himself away like loose change, never counting the cost, only hoping it would be enough to buy a moment of peace, a sliver of genuine connection. He gave his time, canceling plans with friends because Maya was having another crisis, a storm in a teacup that only his presence could calm. He gave his energy, listening for hours, as she dissected the slights of others, never once asking about the weight on his own shoulders. He gave his loyalty, defending her to people who saw the flashing warning signs he chose to ignore. He held out his hands to save her again and again, only to watch her use those same hands to dig her own grave, tossing the dirt back in his face with a careless smile. He watched her misuse his kindness, twisting it into an expectation. He watched her ruin every beautiful thing he tried to build, her touch a strange, corrosive thing that tarnished everything pure. And he let it happen. This wasn't an accident. Liam was too calculated for that. He didn't slip, he allowed. He was an observer in his own life's tragedy, watching the protagonist he loved become the villain. He let her drown in the very validation she demanded, in the drama she craved. She mistook his silence for weakness, his distance for heartbreak. But Liam wasn't breaking. He was building. He was building a pyre in his soul, and on it he placed every broken promise, every casual betrayal, every moment he felt like a convenience store, open 24/7 for her emotional needs. He was letting everything he gave her burn in her hands like dynamite on a timer. Tick, tick, boom. He didn't lose control. He handed it over, a deliberate and terrifying act of surrender. Then he waited. He waited for the inevitable screams, the frantic blame, shifting, the desperate calls that would come far too late. That's the part people like Maya never understand. The real danger isn't the person who shouts, who argues, who fights. It's the one who lets you implode while they calmly light a cigarette and walk away into the night. His first mistake was his kindness. He walked into her life as a healer, and she saw a fool. He offered peace, and she treated it like a white flag of surrender. He gave his presence, and she took it as a guarantee. The world feasts on the loyal and glorifies those who walk away. But Liam didn't walk away, not at first. He stood still. That's what drove her mad. The cold, impenetrable silence, the stillness. He didn't cry. He didn't scream. He simply stopped explaining himself. And that silence was a mirror she was forced to look into. And for the first time, she saw her own reflection without his love to soften the edges. That's when it cracked. People like her don't fear your presence. They fear your absence. They don't crumble when you're angry. They crumble when you stop trying. Because that's the moment they realize they were never in control. He always was. He had just let them star in a fantasy where they were running the show. He played quiet, but he was never blind. He saw everything. He chose silence because he knew deep down it was the sharpest blade in his arsenal. They always think they have time, don't they? They believe your patience is infinite, that your loyalty is on autopilot. But here's the thing about real ones. They don't explode. They evolve. They sit, they watch, and they count every transgression, stacking the disrespect like chips in a game the other person doesn't even know they're playing. Then one day they vanish. No warning, no grand exit, no goodbye, just absence. A void where a universe used to be. And that's when the fear sets in. That's when their nights get loud, filled with the echoes of everything they took for granted. That's when the silence begins to eat them alive. Liam hadn't lost control. He had mastered it. He had sharpened his pain into a weapon of indifference. He let them dance on their own landmines while he stood back, arms crossed, watching the inevitable explosions. They thought they were hurting him, but all they did was set themselves on fire, and he didn't even flinch. You know what people hate more than being exposed? Being ignored. He gave Maya the rope, and she chose to hang herself with it. He stood there, watching her hands shake as she tied the knot. That isn't weakness. That's power. That's discipline. That's what makes you dangerous. Because he could have spoken. He could have reacted. But he chose to let the silence do the talking. And trust me, silence screams in ways words never could. Maya thought she had him figured out, a predictable pattern of forgiveness. But she forgot something crucial. Monsters don't announce their arrival. They emerge from the ruins of a good heart that was pushed too far. And when they do, it's already too late. He didn't break down. He didn't spiral. He just turned off the switch. No more emotions, no more explanations. Just a cold, empty space where his warmth used to be. And when someone feels that void, they finally realize what you were worth. But by then, the store is closed for good. Of course, she won't tell the truth about him. She'll rewrite the story. She'll paint herself as the victim, casting him as the cold, heartless villain who just left. She'll talk about how he changed, but she will surgically remove the why from her narrative. She'll never mention the countless chances, the late nights he spent overthinking her patterns, the number of times he bit his tongue to keep the peace. That part of the story disappears because it doesn't serve her. Her story needs a villain. And since he stopped bleeding for her, he was the obvious choice. But the truth is simple. He didn't change, he adjusted. He finally matched her energy. He started playing the game by her rules, and she hated it because he was infinitely better at it. He gave her the love she never earned, the time she never valued, and the loyalty she was never ready for. When he stopped, she called it betrayal. But if his silence was betrayal, what do you call using someone's heart as a rest stop on the highway of your ego? What do you call making someone feel guilty for expecting the bare minimum? That isn't love, it's manipulation. And the second he saw it for what it was, he stopped participating. The real reason she fell apart wasn't that she missed him. It was that she missed the control she had over him. She missed the version of him that absorbed her toxicity without complaint, the one that gave infinite passes. That version of him was her favorite, not because she loved it, but because it was useful, predictable, safe. But that version died, and from its ashes, Liam resurrected into something colder, sharper, quieter. That's when she realized she never knew him at all. She only knew the parts of him she was allowed to manipulate. The rest of him, the darkness, the depth, the boundaries he was forced to build, she never saw coming. He was the storm she joked about until it arrived, and now she's drenched in the mess she made, begging for an umbrella in a downpour she caused. He didn't become a monster, he responded to one. He didn't grow thorns because he wanted to hurt people. He grew them because he got tired of bleeding for hands that were never gentle. The sickest part, she could have had him forever, He wasn't a temporary fix. He was a lifetime disguised in human skin. She saw it, believed it, and still gambled him away, convinced he'd always be there to cash her in. That's the disease of the ego. It makes you think people like Liam don't walk away. But even the strongest souls get tired. Even warriors with the biggest hearts have breaking points. And once that point is hit, it's over. You can't glue trust back together. You can't rewind disrespect. Eventually, even the kindest hearts go cold. Not out of hate, but out of sheer soul-crushing exhaustion, out of self-defense. He didn't become numb overnight. He was overstimulated by betrayal, and now he sits in a profound silence. Not because he has nothing to say, but because nothing he could say would matter to ears that only listen when it's comfortable. He gave control to the chaos, not because he was weak, but because he wanted the truth to reveal itself, and it did. Look at her now, confused, bitter, talking like a victim in a story she authored, rewriting timelines so she can sleep at night. It's all just noise, and Liam doesn't argue with noise anymore. He doesn't defend his name in rooms he's not in. He learned that lesson after being betrayed too many times. You let the story tell itself. You let them talk, let them lie, and you just keep moving. Because when the dust settles and the masks fall off, the truth will scream louder than any rumor they ever whispered. She'll search for him in every person she meets next. That's the curse of taking a good heart for granted. She'll smile at new faces, but it will all feel hollow because nobody will see her the way he did. And she'll feel it, especially in the quiet moments, when her conscience turns into a courtroom and his silence is the main prosecutor. The verdict is always the same: guilty. She'll try to replace him, of course. A quick, desperate, sloppy attempt to fill a Liam-shaped hole. But she'll soon realize you can't copy and paste a soul. No one else will have his mind, his heart, his loyalty wrapped in fire. She wasn't just careless, she was willfully careless. That wasn't ignorance, it was arrogance. And when he gave her silence instead of revenge, she thought she'd won. But now, as the days bleed into weeks, and the weeks into months, she's starting to realize the silence was the revenge. Because it never ends. It follows her. It haunts her. That's the price of mishandling a real one. You don't just lose them, you lose peace. Liam isn't watching from the shadows. He's not bitter or jealous. He's thriving. That's what shatters her ego. In her plan, he was supposed to break. He was supposed to crawl back, but he never looked back. That's what broke her. Not the goodbye, but the silence after it. Because in that silence, she realized she didn't destroy him. She only revealed herself. And now, the mask she wore is slipping, and she is unraveling in real time. He didn't lose control. He sacrificed a connection to save his soul. In a world desperate to be loud, he disappeared, and that was the loudest thing he ever did. He let her rot in the grave she was digging, and he didn't even toss a flower on the way out. After everything, he realized the only way to win a game with a manipulator was to stop playing, vanish. No warning, no closure, just one day gone. And that silence isn't empty. It's heavy. It's filled with every warning she ignored. The door is closed, locked, and the map back to him has been burned. The kindest heart she would ever know had finally learned the art of quiet warfare. He took all the love he wasted on her and turned it inward. He took the energy and built an empire within himself. She's stuck rereading the last chapter, hoping for a different ending. But he's already writing a new book, and in this one, he is the hero, the king, and the survivor. He didn't lose control. He simply let the fire he was holding consume everything that never deserved his warmth in the first place. And in the